Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Jalkam.
And I'm Jyothna Kumar. And on the show today, King Charles and the royal family hosted U.S. President Donald Trump and his wife Melania at Windsor Castle as Trump is on an unprecedented second state visit to the UK. We'll get you all the details on that story of the show.
Also on World DNA, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, they've signed a formal mutual defense pact in a move that significantly strengthens a decades-long partnership. The pact states aggression against one of these countries will be considered an aggression against both. We'll bring you all the details on that. Let's start with that.
India's UN ambassador reaffirms New Delhi's commitment to promoting peace and development in Afghanistan during a UNSC briefing, emphasizing humanitarian aid, capacity building, and support for the UN mission.
Gunman opens fire on 5 police officers in the US state of Pennsylvania, killing 3 and seriously injuring 2 before he was killed at the scene. Officers came under fire while responding to a domestic violence probe.
Donald Trump treated to a sumptuous royal state banquet in Windsor Castle, rounding off his first full day of historic second state visit to Britain. The U.S. president describes the visit as one of the highest honors of his life.
Israel's defense ministry says its cutting-edge laser-based system Iron Beam successfully completes this testing and is set to be operational by end of this year. This laser system is designed to destroy incoming missiles.
Pakistan and Saudi Arabia signed strategic defense pact, with the two sides saying an attack on one country would be considered an aggression against both. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince and Pakistan PM signed the deal.
Venezuela begins 3 days of military exercises as tensions soar amid U.S. military activity in the region. Drills involve 12 ships, 22 aircraft, 20 small boats from Special Naval Militia.
Brazil's former president Jair Bolsonaro diagnosed with early-stage skin cancer. Announcement came as the 70-year-old leader was discharged from a hospital where he was rushed after falling ill.
Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 0.25% for the first time this year, citing slowing job growth and rising risks to employment, while facing mounting political pressure from President Trump and internal division over future rate cuts.
India and Pakistan will face each other again at the Asia Cup. And this after Pakistan beat the UAE by 41 runs and qualified for the Super 4 stage of the tournament in Dubai.
King Charles and the royal family hosted a lavish banquet for US President Donald Trump and his wife Melania at Windsor Castle.
Now, this is, of course, a family home to the British monarchs for almost 1,000 years. Trump described the visit as one of the highest honors of his life, paying tribute to the transatlantic relationship by calling the UK and the United States 2 notes in one court.
Privileged to be the first American president welcomed here. And if you think about it, it's a lot of presidents, and this was the second state visit, and that's the first, and maybe that's going to be the last time. I hope it is, actually. But this is truly one of the highest honors of my life. Such respect for you and such respect for your country.
During his royal banquet toast, King Charles praised the special relationship between the UK and the US and hailed what he called Trump's personal commitment to seeking peace.
Our countries are working together in support of crucial diplomatic efforts, not least of which, Mr. President, is your own personal commitment to finding solutions to some of the world's most intractable conflicts in order to secure peace.
Now, earlier, Trump and his wife Melania's welcome featured gun salutes, soldiers on horseback, and a flypast by the Red Arrows.
King Charles and Donald Trump, they laughed and joked as the US leader inspected troops at Windsor in an elaborate spectacle featuring a carriage procession. The President and First Lady were greeted on arrival by heir to the throne Prince William and his wife Catherine at Windsor after stepping off the Marine One helicopter. William and Catherine then walked Trump and his wife a short distance to meet the waiting King Charles and Queen Camilla.
A 41-gun salute was fired simultaneously from 6 First World War-era guns on the castle's east lawn, as a similar display took place at the Tower of London in the capital.
Were then taken in a black and gold coach towards the castle, where Trump and Charles inspected the Guard of Honor. Meanwhile, thousands of anti-Donald Trump protesters armed with signs and shouting slogans descended on central London to decry the US president's unprecedented second state visit to the UK.
For Israel to do it. So our message to Donald Trump is, don't
extraordinary that he could lie and cheat and act with impunity and not care about it. He has no morals, and it's exhausting.
We don't like bullies. I don't like bullies, and that's why I've come out of retirement from my previous activism days, because Trump is probably the biggest bully that there is. As various people have said, he's clearly a very insecure little man.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Terani sent us this report from New York. Listen in.
President Trump's state visit to the UK opened with full royal pageantry, a carriage procession at Windsor, a banquet with King Charles, and meetings with senior royals. The highlight so far has been the announcement of a sweeping tech prosperity deal, channeling billions in U.S. investment into Britain's AI, cloud, and nuclear sectors. The trip, however, has drawn protests in London and renewed scrutiny of Trump's past controversies. Now the focus shifts to politics. Prime Minister Keir Starmer will host Trump at Chequers for talks and a joint press conference. On the table, trade and tariffs, technology and investment, and contentious foreign policy issues from Ukraine to Gaza. Both leaders will be tested. Trump's looking to cement a win on U.S.-UK economic ties. Starmer balancing diplomacy with domestic backlash. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Well, shifting of focus, at least 16 people were killed across Palestinian territory as Israeli forces pressed on with a new ground offensive in the Gaza city.
Explosions were seen over the Gaza Strip. The latest Israeli operation, which started on Tuesday, has escalated the conflict even further, likely pushing any ceasefire further out of reach now.
On the 23rd of September, world leaders will gather in New York for a summit hosted by France and Saudi Arabia. The summit aims to build momentum towards a two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians. Australia, Belgium, Britain, Canada and France have pledged to formally recognize a Palestinian state.
We have the high-level international conference for the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine and the implementation of the two-state solutions. This is a chance to address reality that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict cannot be resolved by endless war, continued occupation and terror. The only way to ensure that both Israelis and Palestinians can live in lasting peace, security and dignity is the two-state solution.
Palestinian Foreign Minister said that the planned recognition of a Palestinian state at the UN summit will send a clear message to Israel on illusions of continuing its occupation of Gaza and the West Bank.
Recognition is not symbolic. It is something that is very important because it sends a very clear message to the Israelis on their illusions on continuing their occupation forever. And it sends a clear message to the Palestinians that we are with your right to self-determination. And it empowers and strengthens the two-state concept and solution. And it gives us a push for the future because we will build on it.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas will not be at the summit in person, but is expected to appear via video for the summit, and his General Assembly speech on the 25th of September will take place via video. The United States has said it will not give Abbas a visa.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu insists there will be no Palestinian state and that the offensive will continue until Hamas is destroyed and hostages are freed. Israel's far-right finance minister says that Gaza could be real estate bonanza and that he is discussing that plan with the Trump administration.
There's a business plan set by the most professional people there is and is on President Trump's table, and how this thing turns into a real estate bonanza. I'm not kidding, it pays off. I have started negotiations with the Americans. I say this not jokingly now because I also demand we paid a lot of money for this war, so we need to divide how we make a percentage on the land marketing later in Gaza.
Netanyahu continues to face ire from his people. On Wednesday, protesters dressed in white and blood representing hostages killed during the war gathered outside his residence, demanding the Prime Minister prioritize the hostages and agree to a ceasefire.
At least 2 people have been killed in an Israeli strike on the eastern Lebanese city of Baalbek in Lebanon.
According to Lebanon's official national news agency, the attack was carried out by an Israeli drone. Israel has been regularly launching strikes in Lebanon targeting Hezbollah militants, and despite a ceasefire that ended their most recent conflict in November, these attacks come as the Lebanese government moves to disarm Hezbollah, the group once dominant in Lebanese politics and believed to be better armed than the Lebanese army, and was severely weakened during the recent war with Israel.
Meanwhile, people in Beirut took to the streets to mark the first anniversary of the deadly pager explosions that ignited the last round of conflict on the 17th of September last year. Thousands of pagers carried by Hezbollah members for many months exploded simultaneously, followed by booby-trapped walkie-talkies, and that attack or those explosions took place the day after that.
The wounded from the pager explosions are the people of our street, the people of our neighborhood, the people of our region. We were surprised by this day. It was a difficult day, a very, very, very painful day. You would only see cars carrying wounded people and going, not knowing what is happening and not knowing. We were shocked. We did not expect at any moment that the enemy would be able to penetrate the technical field that he has been preparing for years.
The blast killed 39 people and wounded over 3,400, including civilians and children not affiliated with Hezbollah. Now, these attacks mark the beginning of a devastating war between Israel and Hezbollah, which left much of Lebanon in ruins and the militant group significantly weakened.
An Israeli investigation letter revealed that thousands of pagers had been secretly rigged with explosives and detonators intended to inflict maximum damage. According to Benjamin Netanyahu's spokesperson, the Prime Minister had authorized the attacks.
Now, days after Russia and Belarus conducted the Zapad military drills, Poland has begun its biggest military exercise of the year this week.
And it brings together more than 30,000 troops from the Polish armed forces and NATO forces. Codenamed Iron Defender 25, the military exercise will take place across training grounds in Poland's Auschwitz and other locations. Billed as the largest and most important planned training event of the Polish armed forces this year, the drills are designed to test coordination across land, air, sea, cyberspace and special operations.
Te ćwiczenia mają w swoim celu.
The aim of these exercises is to publicize and demonstrate the capabilities of the Polish army, the possibilities for cooperation with our allies, and the equipment at our disposal, but they are also intended to deter anyone who might be thinking of attacking Poland.
Polish officials maintain that the exercise is defensive in nature, but noted that they come as a direct counter to the large-scale Russian-Belarusian war games, Zapad.
The goal I set was related to the Zapad exercise. It was to maintain our preparedness to respond in the event that, like the previous Zapad exercise, it could escalate into various provocations that could compromise our security.
The drills bring together Poland's land forces, Poland's air force, navy, special forces and territorial defense forces in what the military called a federation of more than 30 interconnected exercises. Nearly 600 pieces of heavy equipment, including tanks, armored vehicles, artillery and aircraft, have been deployed alongside NATO allies.
The timing of the Polish drills underscore heightened security concerns in Eastern Europe as Russia continues its war in Ukraine and steps up coordination with Belarus. It also comes on the back of Russian drone incursions in the Polish airspace, threatening to widen Moscow's war in Ukraine to Eastern Europe.
Venezuela claims it has foiled a U.S. plot. Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello says that security forces seized 3,680 kilograms of cocaine.
Now this, of course, while also arresting 4 people. He accused the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration of staging a false flag operation designed to frame Venezuela. Venezuela's Interior Minister has said that along with the cocaine, authorities seized a speedboat, fuel, satellite equipment, and mobile phones. He alleged that one suspect, Levi Lopez Batiste, had ties to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration and claimed that the detained Venezuelans were told to carry their national ID cards as part of a plot to frame Venezuela.
Now, questions persist after the U.S. launched its first kinetic strike on a boat near Venezuela. The Trump administration claimed that it was carrying drugs and 11 members of Tren de Aragua gang, but never explained how the military determined that before opening fire. Interior Minister Cabello criticized the second U.S. strike on a boat that President Trump claimed was carrying cocaine and fentanyl from Venezuela, rejecting Washington's account as false.
cuánto de droga había.
Con respecto a las 3 embarcaciones que ellos dicen.
With regard to the 3 boats the US talk about, no. One does not know, one does not know. Because they say that they were carrying drugs, but who saw the drugs? They say that the second boat was carrying fentanyl. From here, from Venezuela fentanyl. It is difficult to believe, very difficult to believe.
Muy complicado de creer. De todas maneras.
During a press conference in Caracas, Interior Minister Cabello said Venezuela has seized more than 60 tons of drugs so far in 2025. And furthermore, Venezuela said it has begun 3 days of military exercises on its Caribbean island of La Orchila as tensions rise over U.S. military activity in the region. The Venezuelan armed forces say the exercises will involve 12 ships, 22 aircraft, and 20 small boats from the Special Naval Militia. La Orchila Island is close to the area where the United States intercepted and held a Venezuelan fishing vessel for 8 hours over the weekend.
Meanwhile, Cuba has called on the United Nations to prevent the United States from sparking a war in the region, warning of rising tensions with its ally Venezuela over a U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean to counter drug cartels.
La Asamblea General de Naciones Unidas.
I call on the international community to mobilize in defense of international law and the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations. The interception and destruction of boats, the extrajudicial killing of civilians, the interception of fishing vessels and aggressive actions by the United States in the Eastern Caribbean create a dangerous situation that threatens regional peace and security. I reiterate Cuba's unconditional solidarity with President Maduro, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and the civil-military union of its people.
U.S. network ABC said Jimmy Kimmel's late-night television show has been taken off the air indefinitely.
Of course, and this comes after the host was criticized for comments about motives behind the killing of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. Now, Kirk, a close ally of President Donald Trump, was shot dead last week during an event on a Utah University campus. Authorities said 22-year-old Tyler Robinson used a rifle to shoot Kirk with a single bullet to the neck from a rooftop. He was arrested and has been firmly charged with murder.
On Monday, Kimmel spoke about the shooting on the show's monologue. He said, "We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid," speaking about Charlie Kirk, "who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and with everything they can score to political points, to get political points from it." And now the network's decision came after they announced that its ABC affiliates would preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely over his comments.
Now, Trump hailed the cancellation of Ratings Challenge show, calling it a quote-unquote great news for America. In a post on Truth Social Network, Trump congratulated ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. He added, "Kimmel had zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible." He also called for 2 of Kimmel's network rivals, Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, to be fired next.
Coming back to the Kirk killing, a Utah sheriff detailed how the suspect ended up turning himself in. The sheriff, who was involved in taking Robinson into custody, said that he was afraid of being shot by police and agreed to surrender as long as it was done peacefully.
Tyler knew it was just inevitable with all the law enforcement pressure that his picture in the news, the gun on the news. He knew it was inevitable that he would be caught.
All right, let's move on. Tensions are again flaring up between Thailand and Cambodia.
Fresh violent clashes in the disputed bordering region threatened the ceasefire now, and the confrontation took place between Thai security forces and Cambodian protesters.
Now, Thai authorities accuse what they call a Cambodian mob of encroaching on their territory, obstructing operations, and destroying property. They say security forces responded with tear gas, rubber bullets, and high-powered sound devices to disperse hundreds of protesters. 5 Thai soldiers were reportedly injured in the clashes.
The story flips on the other side of the fence. Cambodian officials say villagers were simply removing barbed wire laid down by the Thais when troops fired tear gas, smoke bombs and even live ammunition at them. They claim 28 people collapsed and were seriously hurt after being hit.
Clashes took place in southern border that has Sakaya province on the Thai side and Ban Thai Meanchi province on the Cambodian side. The incident follows a similar confrontation a day earlier as crowds armed with wooden sticks and slingshots tried to pull down newly built fences.
Tensions have been high since the month of July, when 5 days of heavy combat left dozens dead and displaced more than 250,000 people. A ceasefire brokered by Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and backed by pressure from US President Donald Trump brought a halt to the fighting.
Well, but the truce has always been shaky. Thai soldiers have been injured by landmines in the demilitarized zone, with Bangkok accusing Phnom Penh of planting new explosives, an allegation Cambodia strongly denies.
And when they found that piece of the sound, it means that they
All right, it's now time for a quick short break on World Day. We'll be back with more news and updates on the other side. We begin with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who took a swipe at Pakistan, pointing to the viral video of the alleged Jaish commander. PM Modi said the world saw a terrorist crying after being struck by Indian forces. We'll get you all the details on that story on that side. Keep watching WION for this one.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Vielleicht nur als Imposant.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Jyotsna. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
Donald Trump hails cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel's late night show as great news for America after ABC suspends program following backlash over host comments about motives behind Charlie Kirk's murder.
Excuse us.
Hi, guys.
FBI Director Akash Patel tells House Judiciary panel he will probe controversial birthday note allegedly written by Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein after facing questions about the note's authenticity during the testimony.
India's UN ambassador reaffirms New Delhi's commitment to promoting peace and development in Afghanistan during a UNSC briefing, emphasizing humanitarian aid, capacity building, and support for the UN mission.
Israel's defense ministry says its cutting-edge laser-based system Iron Beam successfully completes testing and is set to be operational by the end of this year. This laser system is designed to destroy incoming missiles.
Donald Trump treated to a sumptuous royal state banquet in Windsor Castle, rounding off his first full day of historic second state visit to Britain. U.S. President describes visit as one of the highest honors of his life.
Pakistan and Saudi Arabia signed a strategic defense pact, with the two sides saying an attack on one country would be considered an aggression against both. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince and Pakistani Prime Minister, they signed the deal.
Venezuela begins 3 days of military exercises as tensions soar amid U.S. military activity in the region. Drills involve 12 ships, 22 aircraft, and 20 small boats from Special Naval Militia.
World stocks hit record highs before pulling back as Wall Street ended mixed after the Fed cut rates by 0.25%, signaling more cuts ahead. The Dow rose while the S&P 500 and Nasdaq dipped slightly.
Liverpool captain Virgil van Dijk heads home. A last gasp goal in stoppage time to lead Arne Slot's men to a thrilling 3-2 victory over Atletico Madrid in the opening game of their Champions League campaign.
Liverpool on fire from the start. Some Bosley sent it in. Van Dijk! Entertaining outfield night.
Now, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have signed a formal mutual defense pact in a move that significantly strengthens a decades-long partnership.
According to an official statement, this agreement aims to develop aspects of defense cooperation between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and also strengthen joint deterrence against any aggression. Now, the agreement clearly states that any aggression against either one of these countries shall be considered an aggression against both.
Now, this comes as Gulf Arab states grow increasingly wary about the reliability of the U.S. as their long-standing security guarantor. Israel's attack on Hamas in Qatar last week heightened those concerns. The deal was signed by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in Riyadh, where both sides held an official session of talks attended by the delegation of both the countries.
Pakistan has fostered close links with Saudi Arabia for decades, with over 2.5 million of its nationals estimated to be living and working in the kingdom. During the official session of talks, according to the statement, the two sides reviewed the historic and strategic relations between both countries and a number of topics of common interest. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi took a swipe at Pakistan while addressing a rally in Madhya Pradesh recently.
Now, he said Pakistan's duplicity on terrorism has been laid bare after a Jaish-e-Mohammed commander admitted that India's precision strike under Operation Sindoor had a terror camp in Pakistan.
Now, pointing to this viral video of the alleged Jaish commander, Prime Minister Modi said that the world saw a terrorist crying, telling tales of terrorists being wiped out. He added that India's brave armed forces brought Pakistan to its knees within a blink of an eye.
अभी कल ही देश और दुनिया ने देखा है, फिर एक पाकिस्तानी आतंकी ने रो रो कर अपना हाल बताया है। साथियों, ये नया भारत है। ये किसी की परमाणु धमकियों से डरता नहीं है। ये नया भारत है, घर में घुसकर मारता है।
Jaish-e-Mohammed is a terrorist group that operates from Pakistani land. In a video that went viral recently, Jaish commander Masood Ilyas Kashmiri conceded that India's Operation Sindoor ripped apart Bahawalpur and wiped out the family of Masood Azhar, the terror mastermind responsible for multiple terrorist attacks in India. The Jaish-e-Mohammed commander was addressing Mission Mustafa conference in Balakot, Pakistan, where several other jihadist elements had also gathered.
Embracing terrorism, we fought Delhi, Kabul and Kandahar for protecting the borders of this country. After sacrificing everything, on May 7th, Maulana Masood Azhar's family was torn apart by Indian forces in Bahawalpur.
फैमिली के लोग बेटे और बेटे और बच्चे रेजा रेजा हो गए।
Now, Prime Minister Modi said that the admission confirmed what India had been maintaining, that Bahawalpur remains the hub of Jaish operations despite Pakistan's denials before the Financial Action Task Force and international watchdog.
Indian Prime Minister also made it clear that New Delhi will not heed to any nuclear blackmail. He said the new India, Naya Bharat, gives utmost priority to the security of the nation.
Now, India has reaffirmed commitment to promoting peace and development in Afghanistan during the UN Security Council's quarterly briefing on the country.
I'd like to reiterate that our commitment to meeting developmental needs of the people of Afghanistan is non-negotiable. We will continue engaging with all relevant stakeholders and broadly support the international community's efforts towards a stable, peaceful and prosperous Afghanistan.
India's permanent representative to the UN highlighted that the country's immediate priorities in Afghanistan are providing humanitarian assistance and implementing capacity-building initiatives for the Afghan people. He also reaffirmed India's ongoing commitment to the UN assistance mission in Afghanistan.
Additionally, Ambassador highlighted India's assistance efforts when an earthquake of 6 magnitude struck Afghanistan. India was among the first to provide humanitarian aid to Afghanistan, immediately delivering 1,000 family tents and 15 tons of food to the affected provinces. An additional 21 tons of relief supplies, including essential medicines, hygiene kits, blankets, and generators, were also dispatched to support the relief efforts.
Now, the Indian envoy welcomed Afghanistan's strong condemnation of the Pahalgam terrorist attack, highlighting solidarity against terrorism. Separately, he emphasized the urgent need for a fresh approach to support Afghanistan's people, calling for innovative policies to address their dire needs rather than maintaining the ineffective business as usual status quo. In India, the accused in the BMW car accident in New Delhi got no relief from the court.
Now, accused Gaganpreet Makkar will remain in the custody till September 27th. The next bail hearing is scheduled on Saturday.
The accused was arrested on charges of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. She filed a bail application on Tuesday, arguing that there was no intent or negligence on her part. Her petition says custodial interrogation is unnecessary as she had cooperated with the investigation. Petition also says that it was not a flight risk. It was unlikely to tamper with evidence. The court has issued a notice to the prosecution and directed the jail authorities to provide her with medical care.
Now, police confirmed her blood samples tested negative for alcohol. The victim, Najot Singh, was riding a motorcycle with his wife when the luxury BMW car struck them at a high speed. Both the victims were taken not to the nearest hospital, but to a hospital about 22 kilometers away from the accident site. It is reported that the hospital is linked to the accused family.
Now, this decision has raised several questions. Victims' family says that it was an attempt to influence the medical response. Police has seized both vehicles involved in the accident and ordered a forensic investigation.
Ecuador has declared a national emergency. President Noboa says the move aims to address paralysis that has disrupted public order.
And that causes situations of overt violence over fuel subsidy cuts. Rising cost of fuel has angered the people. Widespread protests and clashes are taking place in the capital, Quito, where a student-led march turned violent. Protesters tore down fences and clashed with the police at the city center, and that is near the government palace. In response, police fired tear gas and stun grenades to disperse the crowd.
I reject all the measures the government is imposing on the Ecuadorian people, including the diesel price hike. Fuel prices have already gone up, and the VAT has been raised to address the issue of insecurity, and the number of deaths continues to rise, and the number of criminal groups continue to multiply.
A state of emergency affects the right to free movement, work, and the exercise of economic activities. It also restricts the right to assembly and grants control of public order by the police and armed forces. So far, the emergency has been imposed in 6 provinces across Ecuador.
Anti-government protests are taking place at regular intervals. Last week, the scenes on the streets of Quito were similar. Protesters took to the streets against Noboa's economic policy that has led to thousands of layoffs. Noboa also aims to cut down the salaries of the government employees. And Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico is facing the heat. Thousands of people poured into the streets across the country in what is said to be a biggest nationwide protest against Robert Fico.
Rallies were held in 16 cities, including the capital, Bratislava. The demonstrators are angry at Fico's economic policies and his close ties with Moscow.
Začínali protesty proti novele trestného zákona, proti
For me, it is important that Slovakia belongs to Europe and the European space is united. We, as Slovakia, because we deviate from that opinion held by Europe, it is not pleasant to me.
The trigger for this was Fico's latest foreign trip to China, where he met Russian President Vladimir Putin. This was his third meeting with the Russian president since the invasion of Ukraine. But on the home front, Fico's new austerity package has stirred an outrage. The measures include higher insurance payments, tax increases for top earners, a rise in value-added tax on food, and even a possible cut in national holidays.
Well, the government says the measures aim to solve a widening deficit. The protests were organized by 4 opposition groups. Robert Fico won last year's election with a pro-Russia, anti-America platform. Opposition leaders argue that he is leading Slovakia down the same path as Hungary under Prime Minister Viktor Orban. And the U.S. Federal Reserve cut its key interest rate by 0.25% as widely expected.
However, the central bank, citing labor market concerns, penciled in 2 more cuts this year from just 1 which was predicted earlier.
In support of our goals and in light of the shift in the balance of risks, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by 0.25 percentage point. We also decided to continue to reduce our securities holdings.
The Fed's decision to resume its rate cut cycle after a long pause since December last year comes amid weak jobs numbers. Now, policymakers justified Wednesday's tone change to growing signs of weakness in the job market. In a post-meeting statement, officials said the unemployment rate had edged up but remains low, adding that downside risks to employment have risen. However, highlighting the dilemma for the Fed, policymakers acknowledged that the inflation has moved up and remains somewhat elevated.
The Federal Open Market Committee, FOMC, voted 11-1 to cut the federal funds rate. Only one official, the newly sworn-in Stephen Miran, voted against the decision. Trump's pick, Miran, favored a larger 0.5% cut.
And despite a legal battle with President Trump, Fed Governor Lisa Cook also voted for a 0.25% cut. An appeals court had ruled against Trump's firing of Cook ahead of this week's Fed meeting.
The decision comes at an extraordinary moment for the Fed. Trump has demanded drastic rate cuts and sought to exert more control over the central bank. But as recently as July, Fed boss Jerome Powell was talking about a solid labor market. Powell and the central bank have clearly been blindsided by the soft jobs data after the recent revisions. Wednesday's press conference was drenched with references to weaker hiring and the economic threat.
We say we're not on a preset path, and we really mean that. The actual decisions we make are going to be based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks at the time the decisions are actually made. So you will have seen that we have 10 participants out of 19 who wrote down 2 or more cuts for the remainder of the year, and 9 who wrote down fewer than, in fact, in a good number of cases, no more cuts.
For more on this, our correspondent Susan Tanani sent us this report from New York.
The Federal Reserve cut interest rates by a quarter point, the first cut in nearly a year. The move comes as job growth slows and unemployment ticks higher, with the Fed signaling 2 more cuts could follow if the economy continues to cool. For Americans, the impact is mixed. Borrowing costs on mortgages, auto loans, and credit cards should gradually ease, giving households some relief. But lower rates also mean savings accounts and credit cards will yield less. Stock markets welcome the move, betting cheaper credit will support growth, while the Fed insists its priority is keeping inflation under control without tipping the economy into a recession. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
And India and Pakistan are set to face each other again at the Asia Cup in Dubai.
Pakistan sealed their spot in the Super 45 after defeating the UAE by 41 runs. Now, the match began an hour late in Dubai amid the ongoing fallout from Sunday's game against India. UAE won the toss and elected to bowl first. The pre-match uncertainty carried into the start of the Pakistan innings. They were quickly reduced to 9 for 2 after Seema Junaid Siddiqui removed both openers. Fakhar Zaman, who helped Pakistan get the innings back on track, scored 50 from 36 balls. But Pakistan got themselves into trouble again at 93 for 6 soon after he was dismissed. Just as the case was against India, it took a late cameo from Shaheen Afridi to take them to a total of 146 for 9. Afridi then made his mark with the ball. He took the first of 3 wickets in the power play as the UAE were reduced to 37 for 3.
A 48-run partnership between Rahul Chopra and Dhruv Parashar kept the UAE in contention. But with the required rate steadily climbing and with both of them being dismissed, the UAE's batting collapsed. Pakistan bundled out the UAE for 105 in the 18th over. Pakistan will now take on India in their first Super 4 match. The men in blue easily won the group stage match against Pakistan by 7 wickets. India captain Suryakumar Yadav did not shake hands with his Pakistani counterpart during the toss, nor did the Indian team do so after the 7-wicket victory.
Following this, Salman Agha refused to attend the post-match presentation and press conference. The cast of Black Rabbit enjoyed a grand premiere in New York.
Now, the event witnessed the arrival of Jude Law and Jason Bateman. More details in our next report. Take a look.
It was the spirit of New York, a really authentic New York, looking at all the different slices of life, people that work in the back of the kitchen, the front of house, the people that come to the restaurant, the people that want to rob the restaurant, the people that drive you to the restaurant.
Well, I don't usually get to play the guy that's made a bunch of terrible decisions, just sort of like medium bad ones.
Had a criminal who happened to be deaf, and so I think this is a great opportunity to play that role, and it was so exciting for me.
All right, with that, we call a wrap to World DNA for today. Lots signed up on the other side of a very short break. And before we go, let's take a look at all the climate stories making headlines across the world. We leave you with that. Thanks for joining. You're watching WION World is One.